How to set high dating standards without feeling guilty. This is something many women struggle with, so I want to break it down clearly for you, step by step. First, let's understand why setting high standards is crucial. Standards are the guidelines you create to protect your emotional well-being. They act as boundaries that keep you safe from harmful relationships. Without standards, you risk settling for less than you deserve, which can lead to heartbreak, frustration, and low self-esteem. Now, some women feel guilty when they set high standards because society often tells us to just be grateful or don't be too picky. But here's the truth, feeling guilty is a sign you might be confusing your worth with others' expectations. When you raise your standards, you are actually valuing yourself, and that is something to be proud of, not ashamed of. So, how do you set high standards effectively and without guilt? Step 1 is clarity. You need to know exactly what your standards are. What values do you want your partner to have? Is it honesty, respect, ambition, kindness, or faith? Write these down. When you are clear on your values, it's easier to spot when someone does not meet them. Step 2 is to identify your deal breakers. These are non-negotiable traits or behaviors that you will not tolerate. For example, if honesty is important to you, then cheating or lying should be a deal breaker. Defining your deal breakers helps you make decisions quickly and firmly. Step 3 is communication. You should be able to communicate your standards confidently and kindly. You don't have to explain yourself excessively or apologize for what you want. A simple statement like, "I'm looking for someone who respects my time and feelings," is enough. Step 4 is learning to say no and mean it. Saying no is not rude, it is self-respect in action. You will meet people who don't meet your standards, and it's okay to walk away. Each time you say no, you create space for the right person to come in. Step 5 is dealing with guilt. Guilt often arises because of old beliefs or pressure from others. When guilt appears, remind yourself that your standards are about self-care, not selfishness. Think about it like this, you wouldn't buy shoes that hurt your feet just to please someone else. Your heart deserves the same care. Finally, step 6 is patience. Setting high standards means sometimes waiting longer for the right person. Use this time wisely, work on yourself, grow, and enjoy your life fully. Being single with standards is better than being in a relationship without respect. Remember, setting high standards is a form of empowerment. It helps you attract a partner who aligns with your values and honors your worth. If you practice these steps, you will feel less guilty and more confident in your dating journey. Now that we've laid the foundation about why setting high standards matters and how to begin, let's dive deeper into some practical ways you can strengthen your standards every day. One of the most powerful tools you have is self-awareness. Self-awareness means understanding your feelings, your needs, and what truly makes you happy. When you're self-aware, you can recognize when a relationship is healthy or harmful. A simple way to increase self-awareness is through journaling. Every day or week, take a few minutes to write down how you feel about your interactions with people you're dating or interested in. Ask yourself questions like, does this person respect my time? Do I feel safe and valued when I'm with them? Am I excited to share my day with them? These reflections will help you identify patterns. If you notice you feel anxious, ignored, or disrespected often, that's a sign your standards might need reinforcing. Another practical tip is learning to listen to your body. Our bodies often react before our minds do. If you feel tense, uneasy, or your stomach is in knots around someone, pay attention. These physical signals often mean something is off. Sometimes, our hearts want to give people chances, but our bodies know better. Honoring these signals is a form of self-care. Let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries are closely connected to standards. While standards define what you want in a partner, boundaries are about protecting yourself from what you don't want. For example, if you have a standard of honesty, a boundary might be, I will not engage in conversations with someone who lies or hides important information. Boundaries can be emotional, physical, or digital. You might set a boundary about how often you text before meeting in person or how much you share about yourself early on. Setting clear boundaries helps you avoid confusion and keeps the relationship respectful. It's also important to recognize that setting standards and boundaries is a skill that takes practice. You might feel nervous or guilty the first few times you say no or enforce a boundary, but like any skill, it gets easier with time. Try role-playing with a trusted friend or coach. Practice saying things like, "I'm not comfortable with that," or "I prefer to take things slow." This rehearsal builds confidence and helps you respond calmly when real situations come up. Now, let's address a very common challenge, handling pressure from others to lower your standards. Friends or family might say things like, "You're being too picky," or "Just settle, no one is perfect," or "You'll be alone forever if you don't." It's important to remember that these comments often come from their own fears or experiences. They don't define your worth or your needs. When you face this pressure, calmly remind yourself why your standards matter. You might even want to prepare a simple response, such as, "I appreciate your concern, but I know what's best for me." Surrounding yourself with supportive people who respect your choices is crucial. If your current circle doesn't support you, consider joining groups or communities that celebrate women setting high standards. This support reinforces your confidence. Now, I want to share a story from one of my coaching clients. For the sake of this video, let's just give her the name Aisha. Aisha came to me feeling confused and guilty because she kept saying no to men her friends liked. She felt like she was missing out and worried she'd never find love. Together, we worked on clarifying her standards and understanding her values. She realized that her guilt came from trying to please others. With time, Aisha started trusting herself more. She said no confidently and even felt joy in waiting for the right person. Eventually, she met someone who matched her standards and treated her with respect and kindness. Her story shows us that when you honor your standards, you open the door to genuine love. At this point, you might be wondering how to keep your standards high in a world that often celebrates settling or rushing into relationships. One answer is to focus on your own growth. When you invest in yourself, whether through learning, self-care, or pursuing your passions, you naturally raise your standards because you see your value more clearly. You become less willing to settle because you know the kind of life and love you deserve. Try setting goals for yourself that have nothing to do with dating. Maybe it's starting a new hobby, improving your health, or advancing your career. As you grow, your confidence in your standards grows too. Remember, love is not just about finding the right person, it's also about being the right person. So, while you wait for someone who meets your standards, keep working on becoming the best version of yourself. This mindset shifts the focus from fear of being alone to excitement about your journey. Another important point. Be realistic about your standards. High standards don't mean expecting perfection. No one is perfect, and expecting perfection can lead to frustration. Instead, think of your standards as your must-haves and nice-to-haves. Must-haves are non-negotiable traits, like respect, honesty, and kindness. Nice-to-haves are qualities that are important but flexible, like hobbies or appearance. This approach helps you stay firm without becoming rigid. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. Everyone makes mistakes in dating. What matters is that you learn from them and adjust your standards if needed. Finally, let's talk about the power of self-love in setting high standards. When you truly love and accept yourself, you no longer tolerate disrespect or neglect. Self-love is the foundation that supports your standards. If you find it hard to love yourself, start with small daily affirmations. Look in the mirror and say, "I am worthy of love," or "I deserve respect and kindness." Practice kindness toward yourself when things don't go as planned. With time, self-love becomes your shield, protecting you from guilt and settling. Now, Queens, let's explore what to do when you face the temptation to lower your standards because of loneliness or societal pressure. This is one of the hardest challenges, but it's also where your growth shines brightest. Loneliness can feel heavy, like a dark cloud pressing on your heart. When you're lonely, it's easy to convince yourself that anyone who shows interest is better than no one at all. But remember, loneliness is a feeling, it's not a command. It doesn't have to drive your decisions. Instead of rushing into a relationship to fill the emptiness, try this: embrace your solitude as a sacred time. Use this season to get to know yourself better. What makes you truly happy? What brings you peace? This self-connection is powerful. If you feel lonely, reach out to friends, family, or even professional support like coaching or counseling. Don't isolate yourself, but also don't rush love to fix your feelings. When you resist the urge to settle out of loneliness, you're showing immense strength. You're telling yourself, I deserve more than temporary comfort. I deserve lasting joy. Let's also talk about the subtle ways you might lower your standards without realizing it. Sometimes it's not a blatant compromise but small allowances that add up. For example, ignoring red flags like disrespectful comments, inconsistent communication, or a lack of effort because you're afraid to rock the boat. Or telling yourself, maybe this is how relationships are, when deep down, you feel uneasy. The key is to stay honest with yourself. Each time you notice discomfort or doubt, pause and reflect: is this meeting my standards? Am I settling? Trust your intuition, it's your inner compass. Also, keep in mind that standards are personal. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's okay. Don't compare your standards to others or feel pressured to conform. You are the author of your own love story, and your standards are the chapters you write to protect your happiness. Another tip I want to share is how to celebrate your wins along the way. Each time you uphold your standards, say no when you want to say yes, or walk away from something that doesn't feel right, celebrate it. Celebrate yourself for choosing respect over convenience. These small victories build your confidence and reduce guilt. You can even create a standards journal where you record these moments and reflect on your growth. Now, let's discuss how to handle relationships with people who don't respect your standards. You might find yourself explaining your standards repeatedly or feeling frustrated because the other person dismisses them. Remember, you cannot control someone else's behavior, only your response. If someone continually disrespects your boundaries or pressures you to change, it's a sign to reconsider that relationship. It's okay to walk away. Walking away doesn't mean you failed, it means you're strong enough to protect your heart. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and respect your choices. And don't forget to seek support when you need it, whether from friends, family, or professionals. I want to remind you that setting high standards is not about being perfect or unattainable. It's about knowing your worth and honoring it. It's about saying yes to what serves your heart and no to what harms it. You deserve love that feels good in your soul, love that nurtures your growth, and love that respects your spirit. So, stand tall, beautiful queens. Raise your standards with pride. Release any guilt that tries to hold you back. Your heart is worthy of the highest love. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm excited for you as you take these steps on your dating journey. Remember, every step you take toward honoring your standards is a step toward your true happiness. Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges many women face: guilt. When you set high dating standards, guilt can sneak in and whisper things like, am I being too difficult, or am I pushing people away? It's natural to feel this way, especially if you've been taught to please others or put their needs before your own. But here's the truth: guilt is not a sign that you're wrong. It's often a sign that you're growing. When you stand firm in your standards, you're breaking old patterns that may have allowed you to settle or tolerate less than you deserve. You're creating new boundaries that honor your worth. Guilt can be a tricky emotion because it tries to keep you stuck. To overcome it, practice self-compassion. When guilt shows up, acknowledge it without judgment and gently remind yourself why you're doing this. Say to yourself, I am choosing love and respect for myself. Also, be patient. Change takes time. You're learning new ways to love yourself, and that's a beautiful journey. Another useful strategy is to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity mindset says, there are not many good men out there, or I might never find someone who meets my standards. This mindset fuels fear and pushes you toward lowering your standards. Instead, practice abundance thinking. Believe there are plenty of good, respectful partners out there who match your values. Trust that the right one is on their way, and your patience will be rewarded. You can reinforce this by repeating affirmations such as, "I am attracting the perfect partner for me," or "I deserve a love that uplifts me." Speaking of attracting the right partner, it's important to look at the energy you bring into dating. If you enter relationships feeling desperate or insecure, that energy can repel the kind of love you want. Work on cultivating confidence and self-love daily. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or have it all together. It means showing up as your authentic self and believing you are worthy. One way to do this is by setting daily intentions before dating interactions. For example, before a date or message exchange, say, "I will be calm, confident, and true to myself." This simple practice sets a powerful tone and helps you maintain your standards naturally. Now, it's time for a quick reality check. What are your current standards? Write down the top 5 qualities you want in a partner. Then ask yourself, are these realistic? Are they truly important to you? If you're unsure, take time to reflect or discuss with a trusted friend or coach. Remember, your standards are your personal guideposts. They should make you feel excited and hopeful, not anxious or overwhelmed. Let's dive into one of the most overlooked but essential parts of setting high dating standards, knowing your deal breakers. Deal breakers are those absolute no-go areas in a relationship, the things you simply cannot tolerate because they harm your well-being or go against your core values. Many women struggle to clearly identify their deal breakers, which often leads to confusion and settling. For example, if honesty is one of your core values, a deal breaker might be any form of lying or deceit. If respect is essential to you, then disrespectful behavior, whether in words or actions, should be a deal breaker. Identifying deal breakers helps you protect yourself from toxic patterns early on. Take some quiet time and list out what you will never accept in a relationship. This list could include things like infidelity, substance abuse, emotional unavailability, or controlling behavior. Having these clearly written down makes it easier to recognize red flags and say no firmly when needed. Another important step is learning how to communicate your standards and deal breakers effectively. It's not enough to have them, you must express them confidently and respectfully. You don't have to give a long speech on the first date, but you can drop honest hints or gently set expectations. For instance, if you value punctuality, you might say, "I appreciate someone who respects my time." If emotional availability is key, you can mention that you enjoy deep conversations and meaningful connections. This kind of communication not only sets your boundaries but also filters out people who aren't a good fit. It's also okay to be direct when necessary. If someone crosses a deal breaker, calmly state your boundary and be prepared to walk away if it's not respected. Remember, you're not being rude or difficult, you're honoring your self-worth. Now, let's address a common fear many women have. What if I miss out on love because my standards are too high? This fear can be paralyzing, but it's based on the false assumption that lowering your standards is the only way to find love. In reality, when you lower your standards, you risk ending up in relationships that don't fulfill you, which can lead to heartbreak, resentment, and lost time. Think of your standards as a filter that saves you from painful mistakes. Trust that by holding to your standards, you're actually making space for the right person who truly deserves you. When you stick to your standards, you attract people who respect you and align with your values. This kind of relationship creates joy and growth, not pain and confusion. And remember, you don't have to be perfect to deserve perfect love. Your standards aren't about perfection, they're about respect, kindness, and authenticity. Lastly, practice gratitude for the growth you're experiencing. Even if dating feels hard right now, celebrate the progress you're making. Every no you say to what's not right is a yes to what's better. Your journey toward high standards is also a journey toward greater self-love and happiness. Now, let's talk about the power of patience in this whole process. Patience is not just waiting. It's how you behave while you wait. It's staying steady, calm, and confident even when things don't move as quickly as you want. In today's fast-paced world, we want instant results. But when it comes to relationships, rushing often leads to mistakes and heartbreak. When you practice patience, you give yourself time to really see who someone is beneath the surface. You avoid rushing into something based on surface-level charm or pressure. Think about it. Would you rather settle for quick comfort or wait for lasting love? Patience also allows your standards to work their magic. They filter out unfit partners and attract the right ones. Sometimes patience means saying no to multiple dates or turning down offers because they don't meet your criteria. That can feel lonely or frustrating, but remember, every time you say no to less than you deserve, you're saying yes to your future happiness. If patience feels difficult, try shifting your focus from the outcome, finding a partner, to the process, getting to know yourself better. Enjoy your own company, grow your interests, and build your confidence. This not only makes waiting easier but also makes you more attractive to the right partner. Another important part of patience is trusting divine timing or the universe, however you see it. Believe that your journey is unfolding perfectly, even if you don't see the full picture yet. This faith helps reduce anxiety and guilt. When you let go of the need to control everything, you create space for love to enter naturally. Patience isn't passive, it's an active choice to honor yourself and your journey. So, when you feel tempted to lower your standards just to hurry things up, remind yourself of the power of patience. Your love story is worth the wait. Let's take a moment to talk about boundaries, because they go hand in hand with high standards. Boundaries are the invisible lines you draw to protect your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Without clear boundaries, it's easy to get lost in relationships that don't serve you. Setting boundaries means you know what you will and will not accept in how others treat you. It's a way of saying, this is who I am, and this is how I expect to be treated. When you combine high standards with strong boundaries, you create a safe space for yourself where only healthy love can enter. For example, if you notice a potential partner frequently cancels plans or is inconsistent, your boundary might be to communicate that this behavior is unacceptable and see how they respond. If they continue, you walk away. Boundaries don't make you mean or unloving, they make you wise and self-respecting. It's also important to communicate boundaries clearly and kindly. You don't have to be harsh. You can say, I value honesty, so I need us to be open about where we're going with this. One of the best ways to strengthen your boundaries is to practice saying no. Saying no is a superpower. It protects your time, energy, and heart. Many women struggle with saying no because they don't want to disappoint others or feel guilty. But here's the truth, every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to your well-being and future joy. Practice this in small ways first, say no to extra favors when you're tired, or no to activities that drain you. As you get more comfortable, saying no in relationships will feel easier and more natural. Remember, boundaries are about respect. When you respect yourself, others learn how to respect you too. And when someone crosses your boundaries, it's a clear sign to reevaluate the relationship. You deserve people who honor your boundaries and treat you with kindness and care. So, queens, if you want to set high dating standards without guilt, start with clear, loving boundaries. They are your foundation for a healthy, joyful love life. Let's explore how your self-talk impacts your ability to set and maintain high dating standards. Self-talk is the internal dialogue you have with yourself, those thoughts and words running through your mind. Often, negative self-talk sabotages your efforts by planting seeds of doubt, fear, or unworthiness. You might hear yourself thinking, maybe I'm asking for too much, or no one will ever love me like this. These thoughts create a barrier between you and the confident, empowered woman you want to be. Changing your self-talk is a crucial step to embracing your standards without guilt. Start by becoming aware of your inner voice. Notice when it becomes critical or doubtful. Then challenge those negative thoughts with truth and kindness. For example, replace I'm too picky with I deserve love that respects and honors me. Use affirmations daily to reinforce positive beliefs. Say things like, I am worthy of a loving, respectful relationship, or I attract partners who value me. It's not about ignoring challenges but facing them with courage and self-love. Another helpful tip is journaling. Write down your fears, doubts, and hopes around dating. Then write responses to those fears grounded in your truth. Journaling helps you externalize negative thoughts and see them from a clearer perspective. Over time, this practice rewires your brain for confidence and clarity. Remember, you are the most important person in your love story. When you treat yourself with love and respect, others will follow your example. High standards flow naturally from a foundation of strong self-love. So nurture your inner dialogue with compassion and watch your dating experiences transform. Now, let's talk about the importance of self-awareness in maintaining your high dating standards. Self-awareness means truly knowing who you are your values, desires, strengths, and weaknesses. It's the compass that guides your decisions, including whom you choose to date. When you're clear about yourself, it becomes easier to identify who aligns with your standards and who doesn't. For example, if you know that kindness and emotional availability are non-negotiables for you, self-awareness helps you recognize these traits early on in potential partners. Without self-awareness, you might overlook red flags or settle because of loneliness or pressure. To build self-awareness, spend time reflecting on your past relationships. Ask yourself, what worked? What didn't? What patterns do I notice? This reflection is not about blame but about learning. You can also seek feedback from trusted friends or a coach who knows you well. Another powerful tool is mindfulness, being present and conscious of your feelings and reactions in the moment. When you practice mindfulness during dates or conversations, you pick up on subtle cues that reveal compatibility. For instance, if you feel uneasy or disrespected, that's a sign your standards might be compromised. Journaling your experiences and feelings after dating interactions can deepen this awareness. As you become more self-aware, your intuition grows stronger. Intuition is like your inner GPS guiding you toward or away from people. Trusting your intuition can prevent you from falling for superficial charm or ignoring warning signs. Remember, self-awareness is a lifelong journey. Every date, every interaction is an opportunity to learn more about yourself and what you truly need. The more you know yourself, the easier it becomes to uphold your standards without guilt. You create a dating life that reflects your authentic self and leads you to meaningful, joyful connections. Next, let's discuss how to handle pressure from society, friends, or even yourself when you're committed to high dating standards. This pressure often comes disguised as questions like, "Why are you still single?" or statements like, "You should lower your standards if you want to find someone." It's normal to feel overwhelmed or even doubt yourself when faced with this kind of pressure. But remember, your journey is yours alone, and no one else gets to define your worth or timeline. One way to cope is by setting boundaries around these conversations. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices. A simple, confident response like, "I'm focused on what's right for me," is enough. Surround yourself with people who respect your values and support your decisions. If you don't have many right now, consider joining communities or groups where people share your mindset about dating and self-worth. It's also important to practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that choosing quality over quantity in relationships is a brave and loving act toward yourself. When you feel pressure building, pause and take a deep breath. Reconnect with your reasons for holding high standards and the positive impact it has on your life. Visualize the kind of relationship you want and deserve. One filled with respect, kindness, and genuine connection. Let that vision be your anchor. Finally, recognize that pressure is often rooted in fear, fear of loneliness, fear of missing out, or fear of rejection. Address these fears gently by affirming your worth and trusting your path. By handling pressure with grace and confidence, you reinforce your commitment to yourself and your standards. This strengthens your emotional resilience and helps you stay true to the love you deserve. Let's explore the importance of self-love in setting and maintaining your high dating standards. Self-love is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. Without it, it's difficult to expect or accept the love you truly deserve. When you love yourself deeply, you naturally set boundaries and standards that protect your heart and nurture your well-being. Self-love means treating yourself with kindness, forgiveness, and respect, even when things get tough. It means prioritizing your needs and honoring your feelings without guilt. Often, women struggle with self-love because of past hurts, criticism, or unrealistic expectations. Healing those wounds is essential to embracing your worth and confidence. Start by practicing daily affirmations that celebrate your value. Look in the mirror and say, "I am worthy of love and respect." Celebrate your strengths and accomplishments, no matter how small. Self-love also involves taking care of your body, mind, and spirit. Eat nourishing foods, exercise, rest well, and engage in activities that bring you joy. Spend time alone doing things that fulfill you, so you're not dependent on others for happiness. Remember, the love you give yourself sets the tone for how others will love you. When you love yourself fully, you attract partners who reflect that same love and respect. It's a powerful cycle that starts within you. So, make self-love your daily practice. It's the key to living your highest standards guilt-free and joyfully. Understanding the difference between high standards and unrealistic expectations is important to avoid feeling guilty or discouraged. High standards are rooted in respect, love, and clear values. They are flexible enough to allow for human imperfections but firm enough to protect your well-being. Unrealistic expectations, on the other hand, come from fear, past pain, or external pressure, often demanding perfection or ignoring red flags. When you confuse the two, you might feel like you're asking for too much or rejecting people unfairly. To stay balanced, reflect on whether your standards align with your true values or if they stem from insecurity or societal myths. High standards focus on qualities like kindness, respect, emotional availability, and shared goals. Unrealistic expectations might include things like expecting someone to never make mistakes or always read your mind. Practice self-awareness by checking in with yourself regularly. Ask, are these standards helping me grow and find healthy love, or am I holding on to fears disguised as rules? This reflection helps you stay grounded and compassionate, both with yourself and others. Remember, high standards empower you, unrealistic expectations imprison you. Knowing the difference frees you to love boldly and wisely without guilt. Let's talk about communication, one of the most powerful tools to uphold your high dating standards. Clear, honest communication not only helps you express your needs and boundaries but also reveals if a potential partner respects and values you. When you communicate openly about what you want and don't want, you set the tone for the relationship from the start. Many women struggle to assert their standards because they fear rejection or conflict. But remember, communicating your boundaries is a form of self-respect, not selfishness. When you shy away from expressing your needs, you risk settling for less than you deserve. Start by practicing saying no kindly but firmly when something doesn't align with your standards. Use I statements like, "I feel uncomfortable when," or "I need," to keep the conversation focused on your feelings rather than blaming. Also, listen actively. Pay attention to how your date responds to your communication. Do they respect your boundaries or try to push past them? Their reaction is a clear indicator of their character and compatibility. Good communication builds trust and sets a healthy foundation for any relationship. It empowers you to maintain your standards with confidence and clarity. Remember, the right person will appreciate your honesty and meet you at your level. Setting high dating standards also means learning to recognize red flags early on. Red flags are warning signs that a person may not respect your boundaries, values, or emotional well-being. They can show up as controlling behavior, dishonesty, disrespect, lack of empathy, or inconsistent actions. It's common to ignore or rationalize red flags because of attraction, loneliness, or hope for change. However, doing so can lead to pain and compromise your standards. Trust your instincts when something feels off. Don't dismiss your gut feelings as paranoia or overthinking. Pay attention to patterns rather than isolated incidents. For example, if someone frequently cancels plans last minute or dismisses your feelings repeatedly, these are serious red flags. It's okay to walk away from relationships or potential partners who raise these concerns. Setting high standards means valuing your emotional safety and peace of mind over temporary companionship. Remember, ending a relationship that doesn't serve your growth is an act of self-respect, not failure. As you practice recognizing and responding to red flags, you strengthen your confidence and protect your heart. This skill keeps you aligned with your standards and helps you build healthy, lasting relationships. It's also important to understand that setting high standards doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. It means knowing what truly matters to you and being willing to compromise on less important things without guilt. Sometimes, we confuse flexibility with settling, but they are very different. Flexibility is about adapting with grace while still honoring your core values. Settling is lowering your standards to avoid discomfort or loneliness. For example, if punctuality is important but someone is occasionally late due to unavoidable circumstances and they communicate honestly, that can be flexibility. But if someone consistently disrespects your time or feelings, that's settling. Flexibility requires wisdom and discernment. Ask yourself, is this a deal breaker or something I can accept while still feeling respected and valued? By allowing healthy flexibility, you show emotional maturity and open the door for genuine connection without sacrificing your dignity. Remember, your standards are there to protect your heart, not to trap you. Balancing firmness with kindness creates space for love to grow naturally and authentically. Let's talk about loneliness, because it's one of the biggest reasons women compromise their dating standards. Loneliness can whisper lies like, "You're being too picky," or "You'll never find someone better." It can make you question your worth and push you toward relationships that don't align with your values. But here's the truth, being alone is far better than being with someone who drains your spirit or disrespects your worth. Loneliness is a feeling, not a fact. And feelings, while valid, are temporary. What's permanent is the damage done when you allow someone into your life who isn't meant to be there. Instead of trying to escape loneliness, try to sit with it and understand it. Use that time to reconnect with yourself. Build a life you love. Surround yourself with friends, pursue your passions, deepen your spiritual life. When your life is full, the urge to settle out of loneliness becomes weaker. You begin to attract people who match your wholeness rather than fill your emptiness. Remember, loneliness is not a curse, it's an invitation. An invitation to know yourself better, to love yourself more, and to prepare for the love you truly deserve. Don't let loneliness rush your decisions. Let it refine your vision. Another powerful tool for maintaining high dating standards is emotional discipline. Emotional discipline means not letting your feelings make decisions for you, especially in the early stages of dating. Attraction can cloud judgment. Chemistry can make red flags look like passion. Attention can feel like love. But real love, the kind that respects your standards, grows slowly and consistently over time. When you practice emotional discipline, you give yourself space to observe, to ask the right questions, and to see if someone truly aligns with your values. It means watching for consistent actions, not just emotions. Emotional discipline is also what keeps you from texting someone who ghosted you or accepting crumbs of attention just to feel wanted. It reminds you that silence is also an answer and that no response is still a response. You owe it to yourself to pause, breathe, and choose wisely. Feel your emotions, yes. Acknowledge your desires, absolutely. But don't let those feelings override your standards. Emotional maturity is knowing when to walk away, even when your heart wants to stay. That strength is what separates a high-value woman from one who gives into temporary feelings. Let's talk about what to do when someone tries to guilt-trip you for having high standards. You might hear things like, "You think you're too good," or "No man is perfect, so you need to come down to earth." These comments are often meant to make you question your worth. But they say more about the other person's insecurities than about your values. Never apologize for wanting a respectful, mature, and emotionally available partner. You're not asking for too much, you're asking the right person. People who try to shame you for having standards are often the same ones who would disrespect you if you had none. The key is to stay rooted in your truth. When someone challenges your standards, don't defend or over-explain. Simply say, "This is what's right for me." That's enough. You don't owe anyone justification for protecting your peace and honoring your value. And if someone walks away because you won't lower your standards, let them. Rejection is redirection. The more you honor your standards, the more you align with someone who naturally meets them without you having to beg, shrink, or compromise. Guilt has no place in a self-respecting woman's love story. It's also important to surround yourself with people who support your standards. The voices around you matter. If your friends constantly tell you to settle or that your expectations are too high, it becomes harder to stay firm. On the other hand, if your circle uplifts you, reminds you of your worth, and encourages your growth, you feel stronger and more grounded in your choices. Evaluate your support system. Are they helping you rise or pulling you back into old patterns? Are they rooting for your healing or enabling your heartbreak? You need friends who remind you of your strength when you feel weak, who validate your standards when the world calls you difficult, and who celebrate your growth even when it makes you outgrow some people. Your environment has power. If you're always surrounded by women who tolerate poor treatment, it may start to feel normal, even when your soul knows it's not. But when you're surrounded by high-value women who walk in purpose and self-worth, their energy helps elevate yours. Don't be afraid to distance yourself from toxic influences. Protect your mindset. Guard your standards. Uplift your circle. The company you keep will either water your growth or choke your self-worth. Another way to stand firm in your dating standards without guilt is to clearly define what those standards actually are. Vague standards like "I just want someone nice" aren't enough. You need clarity. What does a nice look like in daily life? What behaviors are non-negotiable for you? What values must a partner share with you for the relationship to feel aligned and purposeful? Write down your core values, things like honesty, consistency, mutual respect, shared faith, ambition, or emotional intelligence. These aren't just preferences, they're the pillars that will hold your relationship together. When you're clear on what you want, it becomes easier to recognize when someone isn't a match and to walk away without second-guessing yourself. Clarity eliminates confusion. It removes the gray area that people try to manipulate. It gives you language to express what you need and the courage to uphold it. High standards don't mean a long list of superficial traits. They mean depth, emotional maturity, safety, alignment, peace. And once you've defined them, don't just keep them in your head, live them. Your daily choices, the conversations you entertain, the behavior you tolerate, all of it should reflect the standards you've set. Consistency between what you say and what you do is where your true power lies. Now let's talk about emotional availability. A lot of women with high standards still find themselves attracting emotionally unavailable men. Why? Because emotional unavailability often wears the mask of charm, intensity, or deep interest in the beginning. But here's the truth: if someone cannot meet you emotionally, consistently, and respectfully, they are not a safe space, no matter how attractive they seem. Emotional availability means someone is willing to open up, communicate honestly, express their feelings, take accountability, and be present. As I bring this video to a close, never forget, you have the right to walk away from anything that doesn't nourish your soul. You have the right to expect kindness, consistency, and integrity. And you have the right to say no without guilt or apology. The journey of dating with high standards isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Because when you protect your heart, you open the door for a love that is real, lasting, and life-giving. So keep your standards high, your heart open, and your spirit strong. Your love story is waiting, and it deserves to be written on your terms. Before we finish, I want to encourage you to stay committed to your journey. Remember, your worth is not negotiable, and the right person will celebrate you or not challenge your standards. Every time you choose yourself over settling, you grow stronger, wiser, and more ready for the love you truly deserve. If you're struggling to hold your standards or need support navigating this journey, don't hesitate to reach out. You deserve guidance, healing, and empowerment every step of the way. I'm here to help you build the confidence and clarity to attract and keep a relationship that honors your true value. Visit my page, send a message, or join my coaching community where we dive deep into self-love, boundaries, and emotional wellness. Thank you for spending this time with me. Keep your standards high and your heart brave. The love you seek is looking for you too. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future coaching sessions designed just for you. And if you're ready to take your journey further, drop a comment below saying, "I am ready to join my free weekly coaching, and I'll be there to guide you every step of the way." Keep your standards high and your heart brave. The love you deserve is waiting for you. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shining.